I Died from 5MEO, hosted by a similar competition to the 5MEO DMT subreddit over 1 year ago. I'll try to make my long story short. I've always been a seeker of the unanswerable questions concerning my existence. What is life? Why am I here? What happens to my thoughts after death? I struggle with suicidal thoughts, but at the same time, I'm afraid of dying and hurting my family. The thought that I end up in an even worse reality than the one I already experienced today also scares me. I cannot explain it other than that I am stuck in myself, and that I am unhappy with my situation. After reading up on the subject of 5MEO, I decided to acquire it via the dark web. This was the only way for me to get hold of this chemical. One could claim that I took a rough and careless gamble and kind of played Russian roulette by procuring the chemical from an unknown source. But that's where I was in life at the moment, and the only way for me to get hold of 5MEO at all. I acquired all the necessary tools to achieve the perfect breakthrough after reading and searching on it online. Everything from the most advanced mod to a professional milligram scale, all to achieve the best possible result. I planned everything down to the smallest detail. Cleaned my apartment, took a shower, put on clean clothes in case something went wrong and someone would find me deceased. I'd even planned in exactly what time I would inhale the chemical. All this I would do by myself, without informing anyone about my plans. I loaded my vape with exactly 15 milligrams of MEO. I took 3 deep hits and kept them in my lungs for as long as possible. It didn't even take more than a few seconds before my vision cracked like plexiglass, and I fell within myself so deep into darkness and loneliness, and died. The feeling of dying was shocking to say the least. I had no previous memory of dying, but as soon as I died, I immediately recognized the feeling for some reason. It was such a shock and sadness to feel death, but I could do nothing but accept it. I can describe the feeling of dying in the way of that I fell backwards within my own consciousness so deep it is the most quiet and dark place I've ever experienced. It felt like I was rocked into the deep oceans, and my thought that I've just died was dissolved, and I really died and stopped existing. I do not know for how long I was dead or unconscious, but after a while, something extraordinary happened. The source of all intelligence revealed itself out of nothingness. It was the core of all knowledge. When this became known to the awakened conscious, the consciousness realized what it was immediately. Just like that feeling of knowing what it feels like to die, even though you've never died before. I do not even remember taking the chemical at this stage. I cannot explain the intelligence in words or pictures. I don't even know how this force showed its presence because I had no eyes or self-awareness to look at what I experienced. Call it telepathic, if you will. I was just nothing at that point. Conscious but not aware of myself or who I was, no matter how paradoxical it may sound. I was experiencing everything without knowing who I was, and that is the only way I can explain it. This force sat on all knowledge of all creation, time and space. It wanted to show so much information and energy at one time that it became frightening and far too overwhelming to even be able to understand or take in all the information at once. The feeling became so overwhelming and unpleasant that it gave the feeling of, let me go, that's enough now, just stop it. After that, everything dissolved into blackness again. Time didn't seem to exist during any one of these experiences. Afterwards, nothingness shifted into a reality, and I started to get small awareness of what I can call myself again, but still not me, more like me in a dream. I am now in a crowded and mechanical space. The surroundings are perceived as metallic and old. I get a feeling that can be described as a rusty submarine or a spaceship. I don't know how, but for some reason, I perceive it as cohabiting with several different variants of myself. I experience it as a hologramic existence, where I as an observer am with different variants of me at the same time. I still can't remember taking the chemical at this stage. I can only take in what I feel and see as if I can only be aware, but at the same time have forgotten who I am. After a while, one of the variants asks if it will ever be okay again. Will everything be fine? And after a while, an answer is given that everyone gets at the same time. We will manage, and everything will be just fine. I then went on to experience the most euphoric happiness I have ever felt in my entire life. It becomes such a hysterical happiness that it becomes almost perverse. Such a hysterical joy that cannot be described in words whatsoever. It was like winning the lottery 1,000 billion times over and over again. But after a while, everything disappears again. I'm starting to become conscious in this reality. The next thing I remember is how I feel my heart beating for the first time, as if I've forgotten how it feels to feel my heart beat inside of me, really feeling how it is pumping for the first time. Slowly but surely, I feel how blood begins to flow out from my heart into the veins. I feel how cold blood travels through all the passages. After a while, I realise that I have arms, that I have legs. I feel I now have a body and a stomach. I'm starting to feel a hard pressure all over my stomach as well. It is now that I wake up and realise what I have done, and that I am lying completely flat on my stomach, with arms and legs completely extended to the floor like a flat frog. I've woken up, and I am slowly but surely beginning to realise what has just happened to me. When I looked at my phone to know what time it was, for some odd reason it had cracked during my trip in the middle of the screen. It was like if someone had shot it with a BB gun. And the weirdest thing is that there were no sharp or hard items around the bed area that could have done that damage. About 50 minutes had passed from the time I took the hits initially. I was gone for almost an hour. The experience never gave me a sense of time. It didn't exist until I woke back up again in this reality. Now, what did I learn from this experience exactly? I'm actually still learning from this trip and reflecting on it all. Sometimes I wonder, what if I really did die in that old reality, woke up into this new one? An alternate version of the old one with the wisdom of knowing how it feels to die. It's just a thought, but still a disturbing one. The only thing I can do from now on is hope that it is true what was said, that everything will work out, everything will be fine. In order for me to know all the answers I'm looking for, I probably must die again. And I'm not ready to go through that again to research those answers, at least not today. I'm still afraid of dying, and the life I woke up to has in many ways become even darker than the one I had before the 5MEO experience. But hey, it will be okay. Everything will be just fine. Brilliant little 5MEO DMT trip report there. Yeah, sort of a shame by the end of it that his life became darker in a sense, although I believe that this guy sort of went into the experience of a lot of negative energy, which is, again, there's nothing wrong with that. It seems like he was in a really rough place in his life. He said he had a lot of suicidal thoughts and that, and going into trips with that sort of mindset can oftentimes sort of throw you off a bit, even though you have sort of these ineffable experiences of eternal love, your sort of higher self, your God self, or whatever you want to call it. Even though that can be just like the greatest experience of all time and literally eternal feelings of infinite bliss, which sounds pretty good, it can oftentimes lead to a bit of sort of derealization, depersonalization, and sort of a little bit of a depression when you come back into your own body, because I mean, it's so far removed from like the limited material human existence, that when you come back into sort of like the mundanity of life, that it can throw you off a bit and result in a bit of sadness, a bit of confusion, and just disappointment that you're not in that state forever and you have to come back to your human self. But oftentimes this is just part of the integration period, and this can last for several weeks, where these new insights keep coming up post-trip. You'll start to realise more facets of the experience and probably link the dots, and oftentimes, you will come to a purer realisation of what you experience, especially when you have experiences like this. I've never done 5MEO, but I imagine, knowing me, there'd be an interval of ego backlash up until I fully integrated the experience and saw the eternal beauty in it all. But yeah, that's all just part of the psychedelic journey, really, isn't it? There's always going to be some element of the ego tethering you back to, no, none of it was real, lad, it's all just this human bollocks and all that. But again, realistically, it's not going to be an easy journey, isn't it? Like, as much as we like to say that, oh, we'd love to have a 5MEO experience and just like eternal bliss and love, and you come back to it and you're just like completely hippified in your normal human state. A lot of people won't actually have this because, I mean, loads of people have, say, like trauma and other stuff going on that bogs them down in the day-to-day life, and they sort of seek healing through psychedelics, and then they're just banking on the experience being like, right, I'm going to be sorted after this, and when that doesn't happen, it can sort of, mess with their heads a little bit. So it does take, again, you should be cautious, it does take a lot of foresight to realise that you probably will be integrating this experience for possibly your whole life. I mean, if I had a 5MEO DMT experience, because they say it's the king of psychedelics, literally the god molecule. Sounds like it'll blow every other psychedelic experience I've ever had out of the water, and I'm literally take like a few Liberty caps and feel like I'm fucking Neo from the Matrix or some shit. So God knows what 5MEO DMT is going to do to me if I do that one day, which I definitely would like to do. I just think it's one of them things where you've just got to be ready for it. A lot of people think they're ready and they're just not ready because, again, the common thread throughout all these trip reports is the aspect of letting go, which I think people think that, oh yeah, I'll be able to let go, I'll just let go, won't I? When it's like, nah mate, you can't just say to yourself, yeah, I'm letting go now. You've literally got to sort of like give into it through your own energy, through your own consciousness, and physically let go as well, like get rid of all the tension and that. And it sounds easy, it sounds like, oh, I'll just relax. But mate, it's really not that easy whatsoever. A lot of the times people will go into these experiences thinking that they're like, oh, I'm some super psychedelic head me, like pure psycho, not to fuck, I can do anything and I take any experience. And then when it comes to actually letting go, when stuff starts to get a bit dark, they'll go running into the corner screaming for the mum to come and wipe the bottoms or whatever. But that's just how it is, that's how the cookie crumbles, and it's just one of them things you've got to be wary about, that you really do need to be ready when stuff like this starts to crop up, because like I've said many times before, I am literally a broken record simulator, by the way. Sorry for all these people who watch literally every one of my videos and I repeat myself all the time. But it's got to be said on it that, dark stuff might come up. Probably will come up. I mean, knowing just like everyone's sort of psyche. I mean, we've all got a bit of shadow in us, Shadow the Hedgehog. We've got a bit of the demons, the devils inside our brains. Oftentimes there will be some dark stuff that comes up. You've just got to have that meta perspective where it's like, this is all just part of like the healing process, and sometimes you just got to look your demons in the face, smile at them and be like, I love you, bruh, and then hopefully demon boy will be alright with it, but if he's not, then I don't know what to do, fucking call Ghostbusters or something. So nice little 5MEO report here. Hope the guy's doing much better and he managed to integrate all of these profound mind-bending experiences that he had during this trip. If he ever comes across it, let's hope he does, hopefully it can enlighten us more about what the integration period was like, because I think that's one of the other most fascinating aspects of the psychedelic experiences, literally learning from the trip and how you incorporate all the insights into your actual day-to-day life, the best methods to do so, the struggle to do so. I think that's just as fascinating as many of the trips themselves. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.